Hello, this is Biz Big Picture, connecting the dots to deliver you the big picture. No cars, no banking business. It's Samsung. From finance to shipbuilding, they've got their hands in a lot of pies. But nothing beats Samsung Electronics, South Korea's market cap king. Samsung Electronics also reaches into various industries, including white goods, displays, and automotive electronics. But it was the smartphone and chip business that put Samsung Electronics on the global map. From the 1990s, DRAM-based chip business was the engine of growth for Samsung Electronics and the Korean economy. The role was later taken over by smartphone business in the 2010s. However, unexpectedly, its chip business head issued a public apology in October 2024. Is it due to the increased volatility in the chip business? The stock price is sharply declining. The media has been buzzing about Samsung Electronics' crisis. Let's take a closer look at what the issue might be. LG, rather than Samsung, was the more recognized brand in the early Korean white goods market. LG Electronics was often accompanied by the phrase, "Gold Star of Technology." The founder of LG Group formed a family alliance with the Samsung Group through marriage. It was, in effect, an unofficial non-aggression pact with the Samsung Group. But in 1969, Samsung Group, which already owned broadcasting stations, established Samsung Electronics, anticipating significant synergy between broadcasting and electronics businesses. It meant breaking the implicit non-aggression pact with LG. The founder of LG Group was furious, and subsequently Samsung and LG severed their partnership. Initially, Samsung Electronics focused on manufacturing home appliances such as TVs, radios, washing machines, and refrigerators. In 1974, the company ventured into the semiconductor industry. It was only a decade since semiconductors had been introduced to the world, and US companies dominated the market. In 1983, inspired by Japanese companies catching up with their American counterparts, Samsung founder announced a massive investment in the semiconductor business. And Samsung targeted the DRAM business, considering its large market size. In the late 1980s, as US and Japanese companies exhausted themselves in fierce price wars and anti-dumping lawsuits, Samsung Electronics emerged as the industry leader by becoming the first company to introduce 64 mega DRAM in 1992. While this could be seen as an unexpected windfall of the US-Japan rivalry, it also demonstrates the company's foresight in anticipating the industry's shift towards a speed-driven development race. In computer memory, information is stored as either 0 or 1. This is called a bit, and it is typically stored in one cell. A 1 mega DRAM means it has a capacity to store 1 million bits, each representing either a 0 or a 1. In the late 1980s, with the introduction of 4 mega DRAM, DRAM chips began to be stacked in layers to save space. At that time, DRAM manufacturers were divided into two camps, the stack camp and the trench camp. Stacking refers to placing a second circuit board on top of the first, while trenching involves cutting a groove in the substrate and inserting a circuit element into it. When wafers were etched to accommodate circuit elements, it improved durability, but made the fabrication process more challenging. Ultimately, the stack camp took the lead in the market due to its faster development pace. And Samsung Electronics was at the forefront of the stack camp. Through a series of intense price competitions, or chicken games, the market eventually consolidated into an oligopoly. In the early 1980s, Intel withdrew from the DRAM market. In 1999, Japanese companies underwent restructuring. In 2007, the German company Qimonda went bankrupt. The DRAM market underwent a significant consolidation in 2010. Following the bankruptcy of Opeta in Japan and the exit of many Taiwanese firms, a big three oligopoly emerged, dominated by Samsung, SK Hynix, and Micron. Samsung made its debut in the analog mobile phone market in 1988. Following this, Samsung launched the Galaxy smartphone in 2010. Since 2011, they have consistently held the #1 position in terms of global market share for smartphone shipments. The issue lies in the relationship with Apple. When Apple launched the iPhone in 2007, Samsung secured the contract to manufacture the AP chip, the brain of the smartphone, which Intel chose not to develop and is still talked about to this day. And in 2010, Samsung released the Galaxy S smartphone. Interestingly, the design and features of the released Galaxy device were strikingly similar to those of the iPhone. Steve Jobs hit the roof. In response, Apple began a gradual shift from Samsung to TSMC for the manufacturing of its iPhone AP chips, and in 2011, it initiated a lawsuit against Samsung. This lawsuit lasted for about 7 years, until 2018. With the final ruling in May 2018, Apple emerged victorious in its legal battle against Samsung, securing damages of approximately $7 billion. This effectively means Apple won the lawsuit in the United States. The lawsuit extended beyond the United States, with varying outcomes in different jurisdictions. Of course, the patents in dispute at that time were related to technologies like multi-touch and design, and were not related to the AP chips. However, the real problem is the fact itself that they ended up suing a former major customer. Samsung has been caught at a disadvantage by its competitor, TSMC. TSMC emphasizes the message of no competition with customers in its corporate communications. Why is it that every time we hear this phrase, we think of Samsung and Steve Jobs, even though there's no mention of any names in the phrase? And it seems that the initial noise from the smartphone business is now becoming a burden in attracting customers for the foundry business. The key issues of Samsung electronics can be summarized as follows. First, sluggish demand for general DRAM. Second, difficulties in securing orders for HBM or DRAM for AI. And third, similar difficulties in foundry orders. The demand for DRAM, the primary memory for PCs and smartphones, has weakened due to factors including improved performance, a slowing economy, and the increasing popularity of cloud computing. Cloud computing allows users to access necessary functions through the internet without the need for a personal computer. The processing of these essential functions is largely outsourced to data centers owned by companies like AWS, resulting in a significant increase in the demand for data center chips. The key attributes of data center chips are high processing speed and power efficiency, and NVIDIA's AI accelerators are most popular in the market. NVIDIA's AI accelerators are built using GPU dies designed by NVIDIA and fabricated at TSMC. These GPU dies incorporate HBM memory manufactured by SK Hynix. HBM, short for high bandwidth memory, is a specialized type of DRAM that is created by vertically stacking multiple DRAM and connecting them through tiny holes in the silicon wafer, enabling parallel data transfer. The parallel connection allows for a significant increase in the amount of data that can be processed concurrently. Because it's DRAM, it's actually an area where Samsung Electronics has traditional excellency. However, Samsung has yet to receive approval from NVIDIA for its supply. Currently, Samsung is undergoing quality testing for HBM3E, a product that stacks 8 to 12 layers of DRAM. In short, the DRAM business is facing challenges. To prepare for such situations, Samsung has been focusing on the foundry business. So, how is the foundry business doing? Samsung has been aggressively expanding its foundry business since 2005 and is now competing with TSMC and Intel in the advanced process node market. Samsung initially committed $17 billion to its Taylor fab in 2021. This investment was significantly scaled up to $45 billion in April 2024, with the U.S. government providing approximately $6.4 billion in subsidies to facilitate this expansion. Unfortunately, it is known that Samsung's new fab has yet to find any large-scale clients. The initial plan was to begin mass production in 2024, but this has been pushed back to 2026. The acquisition of ASML's UV equipment has been postponed. Analysts suggest that, without securing major clients, the 2026 production goal may be unattainable. In contrast, TSMC's Arizona fab is on track to begin production in 2025. With a total investment of $65 billion, construction started in 2021, and partial operation is scheduled for 2025. The fab will utilize sub-5 nanometer process technology and is expected to produce chips for companies such as Apple, NVIDIA, AMD, and Qualcomm. Intel's Ohio fab is also on track for partial operation in 2025. a $20 billion investment will be made, and the fab will utilize sub-2 nanometer process technology. The US government has actively sought to support Intel, and companies like Google, Microsoft, and Amazon have expressed interest in collaborating. Why isn't Samsung winning any orders? Although Samsung Electronics was reported to have experienced yield issues with its 3-nanometer process, the company maintains that these problems have been resolved. However, Samsung Electronics has made a decision to switch from its own Exynos 2500 chip to Qualcomm's Snapdragon 8 Gen 4 for the upcoming Galaxy S25 in 2025. The Snapdragon 8 Gen 4 is built on a cutting-edge 3-nanometer process by TSMC. In other words, Samsung smartphones will now feature an EP chip manufactured by TSMC. Intel has also decided to outsource its 3-nanometer process to TSMC. TSMC appears to have secured almost all of the global 3-nanometer process orders. In other words, TSMC currently has no competitors in the 3-nanometer process. Before we conclude, let's briefly touch on the current global dynamics. As China intensified its military expansion, the U.S. imposed export controls on semiconductor-related technologies, equipment, and products to China in 2022. The Netherlands joined the export controls on China in 2023, prohibiting ASML from selling lithography equipment for sub-14 nanometer processes to Chinese companies. Huawei unveiled the Mate 60 Pro smartphone in August 2023, equipped with an AP chip fabricated on a 7-nanometer process node. It is reported that Chinese companies have fabricated 7-nanometer chips using legacy lithography equipment through double patterning. While we often perceive the foundry market as a three-way competition among TSMC, Intel, and Samsung, this perception is primarily focused on advanced processes for producing APs, AI chips, and data center chips. Legacy processes, characterized by line widths greater than 14 nanometer, are predominantly used for chips in applications such as automotive, consumer electronics, industrial automation, and IoT. Chinese companies are quickly becoming more competitive in this market segment. China is set to build more semiconductor fabs than any other country between 2022 and 2026. Let's note for now that the legacy foundry market is facing intensified competition due to Chinese companies rapidly expanding their production capacity. In 2020, the US Biden administration and Japan's Kishida administration discussed ways to reduce their reliance on Taiwan for semiconductors. Following this, Rapidus was established in Japan in 2022. It plans to mass-produce sub-2 nanometer advanced logic chips starting in 2027, with technical support from IBM. Additionally, it signed an agreement with Tenstorrent, an AI chip developer led by Jim Keller, who has experience at AMD, Apple, and Tesla. The partnership with Tenstorrent means that Rapidus has secured a potential client for its AI chips. Shareholders include Toyota, Denso, and Kioxia, pillars of Japanese manufacturing, Sony and SoftBank, leading IT companies, NTT and NEC, major players in the telecommunications and IT industries, and Mitsubishi UFJ, a prominent financial institution. After acquiring ARM, a leading UK-based semiconductor IP company, in 2006, SoftBank expanded its semiconductor portfolio by purchasing Graphcore, a UK AI chip designer, in 2024. SoftBank is now actively searching for a foundry partner to manufacture these AI chips. However, Intel has been ruled out due to insufficient capabilities. TSMC's capacity is limited, and Samsung has not been considered as a potential partner. Rapidus is starting off with a major captive customer, SoftBank, from the very beginning. Let's review what we've gone over. The future of Samsung's chip business looks uncertain. It's because the market demand for DRAM is shifting toward HBM, but Samsung is unable to supply HBM to NVIDIA, a major purchaser. To mitigate the cyclical nature of the DRAM business, Samsung has been aggressively pursuing the foundry business, even constructing a fab in the US. However, the new fab is struggling to attract major clients. It is now a financial drain. TSMC seems to have dominated the global market for 3-nanometer processes, while Intel has bet on 2-nanometer processes. TSMC differentiates itself from Samsung and Intel by emphasizing that it does not compete with its customers. Intel, on the other hand, is targeting the sentiment of US companies. China is rapidly gaining competitiveness in legacy processes above 14 nanometer with strong government support, while Japan's Rapidus is targeting sub-2 nanometer advanced processes and aims to enter the market in 2027. Will the foundry market see a repeat of the chicken game that characterized the DRAM industry? What are Samsung's strategic responses to this challenge? NVIDIA's next-generation product line, HBM4, will feature an increased number of stacked layers. Additionally, the base logic die, a system semiconductor that controls the data movement of the HBM, will be integrated into the HBM chip itself. SK hynix has been a leader in TSV technology, stacking chips vertically, while Samsung Electronics has excelled in system chip. Who will come out on top in this HBM4 competition? HBM4 is set to be a crucial factor in determining the future market dynamics. With the shortage of NVIDIA AI accelerators, there has been a surge in the development of in-house AI chips among big tech companies and various industries. Samsung Electronics is one of them. Samsung Electronics has developed an AI accelerator called Maha-1. If NVIDIA is like building wider highways for data, Samsung's Maha-1 is focusing on making the data itself lighter. It achieves this by compressing data, reducing precision, and removing unnecessary baggage. Given the current supply constraints of NVIDIA products, introducing a competitive alternative to the market could benefit all market participants. But how will Samsung's desired customer, NVIDIA, perceive Samsung? To mitigate concerns about competing with its customers, the idea of spinning off the foundry business is often discussed. By spinning off the foundry business, they aim to minimize potential conflicts of interest with AI chip customers. However, critics argue that a spin-off could leave the foundry struggling financially, turning it into a bigger headache for the company. While studying Samsung Electronics, the proverb, "You can't have your cake and eat it too," kept coming to mind. In the world, there are matters of choice, like the choice between Apple's business and its own smartphone business, or NVIDIA's business and its own AI accelerators. Is choosing between fabless and foundry another matter of choice? Samsung seems to be unfamiliar with the specialization. Samsung's aggressive all-out efforts to achieve its goals have been a driving force behind its growth and success. The market is now emphasizing the importance of doing things the right way. Samsung might be able to attract large clients if they could remind them of the positive aspects of Samsung rather than the negative association with Steve Jobs' anger. After Huawei unveiled a smartphone powered by a 7-nanometer chip, the U.S. Department of Commerce initiated an investigation into TSMC, alleging violations of export restrictions to China. Although this news could potentially benefit Intel and Samsung, there is currently no substantial evidence to suggest that it is worth paying close attention to. However, it makes us reconsider how important it is to stick to the basics. Samsung's next move has our full attention. Will it stick to diversification or pivot to specialization? This big picture